I was raped and forced to pay child support. Welcome to r/relationship advice, where anonymous people of Reddit share their most troubling issues with loved ones. My boss, 40 female, accused me, 31 male, of coming onto her wife, 23F, and fired me. I told my wife the truth, that these were false allegations, but she has barely spoken to me. My wife and I have been married 4 years. We were planning to try for a baby this year, but decided to wait another year because of COVID. I have worked as a paralegal for close to 7 years. I work under, not just one person, but the partners of the law firm are the ones who are really the bosses, because they can fire and hire paralegals pretty much at will. The female partner in question transferred to our office about a year before. Around 4 months ago, she got her wife an internship in a communication/marketing role there. I'd consider myself a pretty outgoing guy. I like to hear about people's days and hobbies, and remembering everybody's birthdays and the name of their pets, etc. My law firm is high stress and the paralegals gets the brunt of everything, so I like joking around and making people feel better after they get chewed out. So the partner in question's wife basically shadowed workers doing internal/client communications. Our work sometimes overlapped, and I ended up getting to know her, and seemed pretty lonely and anxious, and I tried to cheer her up. We found out we both liked pretty much the same TV shows, and she started grabbing lunch with me at a nearby place. Sometimes there were others who joined us, but sometimes it was just the two of us. We'd talk about work and our hobbies, but when we went back to work my mind just went to doing my job. Then one day we were both doing a series of tasks together, and were laughing, and generally just enjoying working with each other. The partner comes out and says what's going on, and says she's been kept waiting for this to be done for hours. Then she asks what is so funny. The partner made my life a living hell for the next 2 days, and then calmed down. But I'd still get angry looks from the partner whenever Anne was around me. Things died down a bit, and I started feeling comfortable having lunch with Anne again. Except Anne started saying that her whole life sucked, and that her wife was possessive and an egotistical workaholic. I tried to sympathize with her, and she kept saying how nice I was, and it's so rare to meet such a nice person. I suggested she talk to a therapist if she needs someone to help her with sensitive personal topics. Finally last week a whole bunch of us were working through lunch and she needed help on something. After I helped her, because she was near tears and seemed really anxious about screwing up, she said thank you. I told her to not sell herself short and that she's capable. Before I knew it she came closer and gave me a really big hug. I tried to get out of it, but one of the other partners saw. I get called into Anne's wife's office. She quietly rages at me and says I was done here, that nothing goes on here that she doesn't know about, and good luck finding another job in this industry. I was in shock and tried to protest that she hugged me and I was just trying to make a coworker feel better. She said I had conducted myself inappropriately and that she was dealing with me right now, not the other party, and that I have caused enough disruption. I went home shell-shocked and broke down and told my wife everything that had gone down. She started crying and asked, is that it? Is that really it? I promised that was it, and she started asking how this could have happened. I knew I wasn't getting a job reference of any kind, but my wife is friends with somebody in accounting at the firm. She started hearing a bunch of crazy rumors, all of which are not true. I really think it's the partner just spreading rumors or just other people playing a cruel game of telephone. My wife started getting distant and would have moments of extreme anger. To make things worse, and called and said she was sorry, and when I raged about what was happening at home she asked if she could contact my wife to tell her that it was all her fault, and that she admitted to having caring feelings for me, and her wife had snapped. I didn't know what else to do, so I asked my wife if she wanted to hear Anne's side of the story, but she started raging at me and saying she didn't want to hear from anyone about this ever again. Now she's no longer speaking to me and even asked that I sleep somewhere else. I'm the most depressed ever, and I don't even know what to do because I'm afraid of getting back out there and applying for another job. How do I get my wife to work through her feelings with me? I think she does know I'm telling the truth, but still hates me. Now for the comments. Get a lawyer and do not delete any interactions. You are going to need documents to prove your innocence. If you don't move quick, your name and reputation may be sullied forever or a very long time. You need to move fast. Get a lawyer. File whatever you need to recover all work comes from your work email, etc. Record how she said you came onto her wife and destroy the narrative. Once she starts changing her story, you will have a better chance to survive this. You need all the help you can get. Get your family in on this and get legal orders filed so your ex-boss does not destroy evidence or has the time to change the story. Wait, you are a paralegal and never occurred to you to get a lawyer about this situation? Slander, wrongful termination, accused you of cheating with her wife, and the wife's wife came on to you? You messed up in one main place, going to lunch together without other co-workers too often, as innocent as it was. Another law firm would love to serve papers to a competitor's firm for wrongful termination. And tell your wife that you're going to solicit the different firm about your termination, and you will remember how she treated you when you needed her most. Don't insinuate you're getting a divorce attorney, though. The fact that she married someone half her age and then employed her under her says it all. If it were my husband, I think I'd believe his innocence, but I guess it's hard to say how you'd feel unless it was you in that situation. Keep all conversations with both Ann and boss. Contact a lawyer for unfair dismissal. Plus, contacting a lawyer will help your wife to realize you are the victim here. Now on to the second story. My boyfriend and I have been dating for just a few days over a month. We talked and hung out for several weeks before making it official because I wanted to be sure we are compatible before jumping into anything. So all in all, we've known each other for about 2 months. We are about the same age, both early 20s, and I'm about a year older than him. Generally we have a good relationship, we have a lot of the same interests, and get along well, and don't fight or anything. Worst issues we have is petty things like forgetting to put the toilet seat down. Except lately he's been harassing me for sex. When we first met we had a whole conversation about what do you want from life, do you want kids, what are your politics stances, etc. All the major things that you can't agree to disagree on. At this point I told him that I'd been sexually assaulted in the past and didn't like being touched in certain areas or being treated certain ways, and that I take things pretty slow and sex would be one thing I won't be having anytime soon and would be something that happens when I feel the time is right and I'm ready. He started asking me about sex very early on into the relationship, and at that point, accepted when I told him I didn't want to or wasn't ready. Lately he started really pushing the matter and bringing it up multiple times a day and generally just whining about it. I still seriously listen to what he has to say and have an actual conversation about it, but at this point I'm losing my patience. I told him for the first time I love him just a few days ago, and last night he threw it back in my face. He threw a full-blown temper tantrum that I wouldn't have sex with him. Went on about as his ex waited months to have sex with him too, and then she ended up cheating anyways. I didn't really enjoy being compared to his ex. Told him I'm not his ex, and he then said he doesn't know how someone who loves him could not want to sleep with him. I tried really hard to be calm, because in my opinion I think he has a lot of anxiety and trauma over past relationships, and that affects how he acts a lot. His last ex he was engaged to when she was cheating on him and moved the new man into the house he was paying for, so I can easily see how that would cause a lot of relationship trauma. He'll ask me to promise that I actually like him and I'm not just using him, and other things like constantly acting like he's afraid I'm going to leave him. At this point I'm exhausted and I'm just sick of it all. I feel disrespected and like my feelings don't even matter at this point. I'm all out of patience to treat his next tantrum calmly, and I have no idea how to handle things at this point. Does anyone have any advice? Now for the comments. A. Sounds like he thought he could ride it out for a few weeks, no pun intended, and you cave. Now he's frustrated as hell because there's no sex. I mean, you're talking about his trauma of his past relationship and trying to be mindful of that. You were abused and as a result aren't ready for sex, yet he doesn't give a shit about that. He's horny and he wants some. Screw your feelings. You barely know each other. I'm sorry, you don't love him after knowing him 2 months and his true colors are starting to shine through. He knows how you feel, and he doesn't care, because he wants to get his end away. Reinforce that sex is not on the table. If he rejects this, then it's time to dump him. I understand why he's concerned due to past relationship trauma, but he shouldn't be comparing love and sex. Just because you won't have sex with him doesn't mean you don't love him. He doesn't seem to respect what you went through and how it affected you as a person. Personally, I think that's a red flag and would stray away from this relationship. He should be able to wait until you are ready. If he really loved you, he wouldn't put sex above all else. Now on to the last story. I, 37 meters, have a biological child who I've never seen, 17F, wanting to make contact which I don't want, but my family does. What should I do here? When I was 19, I was raped by an older colleague, 34F, after a works night out, and she got pregnant. It didn't go anywhere legally as it was my word against hers, and she had the kid. Sadly, as there's no proof it wasn't consensual, I had to pay child maintenance until it was 16. Obviously, as it was a product of what happened to me, I wanted nothing to do with it. Told her to raise her 8 baby herself. The woman died, not sorry about it, a couple of years back, and I've not heard anything about the kid since, so I had no idea what was going on other than my maintenance stopping, which was a relief, because I finally felt like a millstone had been lifted from around my neck. Because of what happened, I never have been in relationships, because of the issues it's caused me, and I haven't got any kids or anything like that, so I feel like I can start living a bit. Brought down to earth a bit last month when my mum said the kid got in touch with her on social media and asked about me/my family and told them she was living with her grandparents herself after her mum died until they both died themselves, so she's not got anyone now. Now my mum is one of these people with a massive soft spot for kids/young people, so feel sorry for her. I told her I don't feel comfortable with her being in touch with us, and I want nothing to do with her, so keep her away from me. She seemed upset, but I thought she accepted it. I will say throughout it all since then, my parents have been an absolute rock. They were some of the only people to support me, and I couldn't have done it without them. So I was talking to my mum at the weekend and she admitted to me that she's not only kept in touch with the kid, but she had met them the week before, and they didn't tell me. Basically, they feel really bad for her because of the life she's had and are starting to enjoy her being in their life. Not only that, she's been asking about me and what happened and wants to meet me to talk and ask me questions. Obviously, I'm upset about it. I not only had to go for going against my wishes, but for betraying my trust like that. She said it's hard for her and my dad because of the way I've been. Never had any kids or anything. They have always been sad that they'll never have a grandchild and this may be their only chance. She also told me she thinks I'm being out of order taking it out on an innocent child who didn't ask for this and could at least meet her to talk. I've said no and not spoken since, which is hard because I normally ring my folks twice a day and my mum keeps on trying to ring me. I don't know what to do with it. I obviously don't want to be cruel, but that kid is a reminder of what happened to me, and I'm just angry she's coming back into my life now when I thought it could be over. And how could my parents do this to me when they know how I feel? As it stands, I have no desire to meet her and don't see the good that could come from it. But I don't want to lose my parents either. What should I do? Edit. So I spoke to my mum today. She's still insistent on having a relationship with her. I said she can, but tell her I do not want to meet her at all and won't do at all. Would you believe my folks are actually intending on her coming over and having Christmas dinner with us? I basically said, if they do that, I'm not going. Now for the comments, doesn't change the fact that there's an innocent 17-year-old girl with no family whatsoever. Op doesn't have to be a father figure to this child, but she's still a biological offspring of her grandparents and it's not fair to tell them they cannot help this girl out of a terrible situation. Is it Op's responsibility? No. Would it be easier to forget she existed? Yes. Does it change the fact that she does exist? No. This situation is tragic, and it's going to cause hurt to someone, regardless of the decision made. Either Op, a 37-year-old man, can be reminded of an awful experience, but still be surrounded by loved ones. Or a 17-year-old girl can be reminded of her own awful experiences losing everyone she is close with, and be surrounded by no one. I know this will be the unpopular opinion, but I feel that the 17-year-old girl's welfare takes priority. He doesn't have to be in his daughter's life, but he can't ask his parents to ignore this girl after she has reached out to them. I think you need to go to counseling to practice enforcing strong boundaries if you want to maintain a relationship with your family. You did not want that child. You did what you had to do by paying child support. It's sad that she lost her mom and now wants to meet you. You may be biologically related to her, but you are not her dad, and you made it clear right from the beginning. You are not the bad person here. This is just an unfortunate situation for everyone involved. You were raped and that's not okay. You have every right to not want the reminder. As others have said, get some therapy, even though you've done it before. You don't have to live with the agony of this trauma to the point that it has kept you locked out of a relationship for all these years. Sometimes you just have to try until you find a good therapy match. I would just send a letter to this young lady letting her know that it is not her fault for you not wanting contact. You can explain that her mother violated your trust. You don't have to go into details, and that the trauma is something that has still affected you to this day. It will hopefully give her some closure. Your family should not have defied your wishes, but what's done is done. It is hard growing up without a complete family, and I can only begin to imagine what this young lady went through with a mom like that. If your family chooses to remain in contact, let them be, but set very strong boundaries that you do not want to be aware or be involved in the goings on. Hopefully you can get to a point where you close this chapter of your life and move forward. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing. Have an amazing day.